Hey guys, and welcome to the FitPro Social with me, David Kyle.
And me, Ash Burley. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this week's episode of the FitPro Social. Hopefully this week I'll have slightly better internet, so it doesn't get all fuzzy and sound weird this time. But so welcome back to this week's episode. You might have seen from the title of today's episode, it's probably one that shocks a few people, and we're going to be talking about January clients because it is obviously a very busy time that's coming up within the next few weeks. And we're going to talk about how January clients are generally shit clients, why they actually are, and how you can maybe use that to your advantage as well. So we're going to be digging into that very, very shortly. But before we do that, I'm going to say hello to Dave. Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully it looks okay. We're back in the office now. First day today. We're trying to figure out which extension cables work, which extension cables don't work because they're soaking wet. So yeah, the background looks a little bit different. I think there's a little bit of an echo going on in here as well. But yeah, I'm back in the office. Woo.
Hey, and if anyone doesn't know, if anyone wants to check out last week's episode, you understand why David's back in the office and why he has wet extension cables. So definitely go check out last week's episode if you're not sure about what happened, because that was quite an interesting topic to go and talk about. But yeah, at least you're back in the office, which is nice. And I guess you're always going to get echoey stuff. It's like here, it's a little bit echoey because there's literally nout in here at the moment until they all get sorted. So both got echoey offices.
Yeah.
But I bet you're glad to be back in.
And it's those small things that you don't even think of. You're like, oh yeah, I'll just do my recording in here. And then you're thinking, oh no, there's too much of an echo, so I won't do it. So I'll do it next week when I try and fix that issue. And then before you know it, you don't do it. And I think sometimes you kind of just have to play with the card that you've been dealt with. If the surroundings are not great, maybe the sound is not the perfect one, maybe your hair isn't the best way it needs to be. Sometimes those are excuses that you can put, or barriers that you can put in front of yourself. So I'm not doing these things. So if there's one thing to take away from this straight away, it's like, just don't worry about it. Don't overthink it sometimes. Just dive straight.
Yeah, definitely. You just got to dive straight in. I think that's one of the most, and that's not really what we talk about today, but it's one of those things that I think you just, as an entrepreneur, generally speaking, you have to kind of dive into things. I've always been a big believer of the kind of jump off the cliff and grow your wings on the way down approach for stuff. Just go at it and let's see what happens. And most of the time, it's never as bad as what you think anyway. Never really is. This is going to sound good. Yeah, it might be a little bit of an echo, but who cares? It's great value what we're going to be sharing with you today. So make sure you stick around, even though there's a bit of an echo on our mics. Cool. So let's dig into. Oh, go on. What was you going to say?
So what is a shit January client, Ash?
Well, this is something weirdly I noticed this when I was doing in-person stuff. So even before I had the studio or anything like that. And you always got busy in January, like especially if you worked in a gym, a big like commercial gym. Loads of people will come and join the gym in January. And if you're maybe a small group studios, you get lots of people taking advantage of the fact it's January, thinking, oh, there's loads of people signing up for stuff. And I thought, great, loads of money coming in. The Happy Days got lots of new clients on there. And I'd always find as you got towards the end of January, a lot of those clients would start to drop off, or they start to ghost you, or they wouldn't renew for something, or they wouldn't make the next payment. And I noticed this starting to happen all the time. And it wasn't really until I actually got into online training and I started learning a bit more about sort of behavior psychology, which behavior change, behavior psychology, that kind of thing is more important when it comes to online coaching than maybe sometimes in person, because of the natural relationships you get when you seeing people face to face. And I started learning more about motivation. And I actually eventually understood that when you get to the new year, what generally happens is everyone's like, society, if you like, pressures you into thinking I've got to make a change. So you're like, I need to go make a change here. This is the perfect time to do it. It's a New Year's resolution. So I'm going to go, right then, I'm going to go make a change now because it is New Year's. And then you feel motivated to do it because it's New Year's, because everyone else is doing it. You've seen all the advertising, marketing everywhere. Everything's building on the fact that you're being heavily motivated. The problem with motivation, it's fickle. If you was literally to wake up on the wrong side of your bed, then your motivation has gone like that. And that's the problem with motivation. It doesn't last. And if the only reason that you're continually going to work with somebody or going to continually keep fit or continually eat better or continually do whatever it is you want to do, whether it's in business, fitness, health, whatever it is, if motivation is the only driving factor of it, you will fail. Without a doubt, you will fail because there's only so far that will actually take you. And I think that's the problem with January clients. We tend to find out that motivation only takes them 3-4 weeks into it. And then normally when they get towards the end towards the end of January, is that that day where they say it's the most miserable day of the year, apparently, because that's when things start to die off again. And then eventually those clients start to go, should they leave, and so on. And that to me leads to some big ass issues, which we can dig into. But to me, that's what a shit January client is. The clients that will sign up because purely driven by motivation, and it's very, very difficult to retain them. And that actually causes other problems because those clients, generally speaking, will not be as good as some of the other clients that you might have for the rest of the time of year in terms of how they react to stuff, how they take things on, how they take on board information, and the amount of workload you end up having to do to look after them. So that's what a shit client is.
Like you say, the motivation, but I think it comes back to the buyer's journey as well, which we've talked about many times on this episode. And like you said there, the motivation. So you kind of forced into new year, new me. This is the time to do it. Whether you're ready or not, now is the time to start. It's like everyone says, start on a Monday. You think start on a Monday? Yeah, it's the perfect time. It's a clean slate. Last week's finished. I can start this week afresh. But if you're not ready for it, then you know you're going to fail. And I'm just trying to find some stats then quickly to find out how long most people usually last with their New Year's resolution. And it's not long at all. I think it's like 17 days, around the 17th of January is where most people fail their New Year's resolution. Mm-hmm. So if people are on their buyer's journey and they've only suddenly become aware that they really want to make a change, or they've only just discovered that, yeah, you know what, I've gained a little bit of weight this year. They've no interest in actually doing anything about it. They've only just acknowledged it. But the new year's coming up, so they're like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm really. So they've gone from being just aware that something might need to change. They've skipped past window shopping. They've skipped past actively seeking, and they've just bought it. So you said motivation, but it's also psychology as well. They haven't mentally gone through the stages of change to be ready to take on a full transformation. So they'll dive into your program, all excited and motivated and everything like that. And then you might even get home and you'll be like, oh, you know what? Those jeans do fit now. Maybe it's just because I just went to the toilet and now it does feel a bit better. I don't really need this program after all that. And then that's where they drop off. So when we sign people up, and you'll see this all the time, whether you're running ads or whether you're doing something, some consultations will be super easy to do. They'll come in and they're basically ready to give you their money. Those people have gone through the stages. They've gone from unaware to aware to window shopping to actively seeking to purchase. Those people that just buy straight away, they're actively seeking, they really want to buy. The ones that you struggle with are the window shoppers, or they've only just become aware that they need to change. And if you're signing up with those people in January, then you know they're not going to last very long. And you've got to move them through those stages quite quickly in those first week or two to get them to commit to long term.
I love that as well, because I think it brings up a very good question then. So if that's the case, if we think motivation is this issue, we think they haven't gone for the buyer's journey, what does that mean we do from a business perspective? So always saying, do we just ignore January clients and don't bother pushing for them? Well, to me, that's not what I'm necessarily saying. Or do we have to adjust our offers? Do we have to adjust what we do in those first few weeks of the programs? Or do we have to maybe offer something slightly differently for those type of clients? So it can actually make us some revenue, not take up too much time, but also allow us to maybe resell some of them as well later down the line. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
it's a weird one. So we obviously, both of us having our own fitness businesses previously, we know February's a little bit better, but our best months generally is March. Yeah. And probably everybody watching this or listening to this in the future are probably like, yeah, you know what? Thinking about it, March is usually my best month. Yeah. But that isn't to say we don't do anything until March. Like you said there, we maybe have to change the structure of offers that we're putting out. So maybe January is a perfect time for a kickstart. Now, a kickstart isn't a 12-week transformation. A kickstart is something fast, something quick, something that's going to kickstart them while they're in that mind, while they're in that focus, 21 days kickstart for 79 quid, 150 quid, whatever it's going to be, is a perfect way to introduce to them what you do. And then if it makes sense to them, by the time they've gone through like day 17, we said is usually where most people fall off the bandwagon. So they've got up to day 17 and there's only 4 days left then of your program anyway. So they might as well carry on. And then depending on how you structure your program, where you've got a client journey, a back-end client journey, and your conversion from front end to back end is also really good, then you should then be converting those people in. So yeah, it's even like your 6-week program, even your 12-week program could probably still work. You might just have to deliver it slightly different for those initial clients coming in. But saying that, you might also just need to survey them so you can work out where they are on that buyer's journey. Have you bumped them forward 3 stages, or are they've really been looking for the last couple of months and now was just the right time for them to start?
I love that survey idea. I think sometimes you can look at this and think, well, what kind of things do you have in place already to try and deal with this? And especially if you're a solopreneur, it's just you working on your own, or maybe just one other person. You might be thinking, well, do I have to really go and change all my offer and structure to do this? You might think that's quite a lot of work to do, especially if you're sat here now on the 13th of December going, oh shit, this is not like a long way to go. I have to go and deal with this. Well, the survey is quite a good way of dealing with that, because what you can then do is just quickly make a survey, put it in, ask those kind of questions, maybe doing the onboarding process or doing the sales process to try and get an idea of where they're at. And it might just be a simple thing of like, can you change some email sequencing or something that goes out? You don't have to do a huge amount. You don't have to change the entire program. You just have to make these small little tweaks for those individuals that need it. And to me, that might be a better way of going about it. If you haven't done anything so far, it's just use that to adjust and adapt it. For some of the guys we have over at PT Ninja, when we do we call it the super system. So we have like a lead magnet process that we set up, and then it goes into their main flagship front end offer and then the back end offer after. Same as most things, really. But we have these things that we call challenges in inverted commas, and they're not really a challenge. They're just smaller things like kickstarts or whatever. They can be rephrased or reoffered as anything you want to. And a lot of time we say to them, because you've got that already, let's drop those things out in January, because the short-term things, it's a good way of identifying where they are, where somebody is. But also the idea of a challenge, if you like, is to help convert people, is to quickly move them through those stages of the buyer's journey. So it doesn't really matter what stage they're at. If they fall into this challenge process, it can move them through it quite quickly over that smaller period of time. And then you can sell them into your front end offer. So that's something we tend to do from an online perspective, and we see that work quite well. But I really, really do like that survey idea. I think that would make life a lot easier, and I might have to steal it. I think it's a good one.
Just think about it then. You were saying like you might update or tweak some of those automations. I would kind of slightly disagree. So you've built the journey for these clients coming in, and the last thing we all want to do is rejig the whole thing. So I think once you put that survey out, that kind of gives you where some of these clients are at. So then all you need to do is bucket them together, and then maybe either cohort them in group 1, not very motivated, not very active, join because it's the new year. Group 2, super motivated, really want to transform, really want to make results. And you kind of group them together without them knowing. And then maybe the first group are not very motivated. You just say, you know what, every Monday and Tuesday, I send them all a semi-automated manual text message, and that makes sense. So you just write the text message once and it automatically fires to all those people. And they get slightly different. They still get your main program, which is your evergreen program, which you're never going to change because you know it works. You've just added 1 or 2 extra bits into it, semi-automated, if that makes sense. So you are doing it, but it's all planned and you can all schedule it, because you know those people just need that little bit of an extra kick. What we would say on this, and we've talked about this loads of times as well, is because these people have skipped those steps and they're highly motivated for those first 1 or 2 weeks, get your success story reviews, get your Facebook reviews, get your Google reviews, get your video reviews while they are pumped. New year, new me, this program's the best thing ever. I love it, and everything like that. Get those reviews in now before day 17 comes, where a good portion of them will then just fall off the bandwagon.
Yeah, I think that's quite cool, actually. I mean, the whole thing about what you suggested there about this, the group, I think that's an excellent idea. I think that's really, really good, actually. And it means you can keep your curriculum, so to speak, the same, but you're just tweaking those little, adding those extra bits in to deal with those types of clients. But yeah, when we talk about shit clients, I think what we were talking about is how shit they generally are. You don't really retain them as much, and they probably don't get the best kind of results. They probably won't be committed as much as you think they should be. But that doesn't mean we can't utilize them, which I think exactly what you're putting out there. Like, we know because they are motivated, they probably will be highly motivated for those first few weeks, which means you can literally milk the fact that they are highly motivated.
T-shirts,
and really use
hoodie,
that to your advantage. Yeah, everything. Just get them out there, like whatever freebies you can get out there with loads of branding on it all the time. Get those testimonials in, ask for reviews ASAP. Like, really get on top of that and milk that. And that's such powerful resources you've got then moving into, or like kind of March, April time, where to me, I think that's literally going to be, to me, that's the most profitable time of the year. I think, and I mean, I don't mean straight away. I mean, you'll generally make more profit out of those clients because you'll generally retain them longer. They generally don't take up as much time to look after them as well. So I always found March, April my most profitable clients, better lifetime value and stuff like that, where lifetime value of January clients tends to be quite low, but you can definitely take advantage of some of the other things that obviously you just mentioned there.
Yeah, just thinking about it now, and it's something that we never really did in the past, but as I've really dived into marketing a lot more, I'm starting to really, basically what I'm trying to say is we just need to start recording this stuff. If this is your 4th new year now, you've been in your business 4 years, or your 10th new year, and you're just like, what offers should I put out? What automation should I put out? What this and that? This is where you're really upsetting yourself. Like, if you've just had a real solid Black Friday campaign, like it's the best campaign you've ever done, document this stuff. If this is going to be a big January and you're launching it, document this stuff. Like, you want to make your life and your business as easy as possible to win at. So instead of waiting to every January to come up with a brand new January campaign, which then you're getting stressed about, because you need to create the creative and the offer, and when to publish it and when not to publish it, and the pricing and retention packages and everything like that. Document what you're doing now, go over it February, and then when it comes to December next year, you're just like, that's what we did in January. Let's tweak that, edit that date changes, and you're good to go. And like, a lot of us really don't do this stuff. So like this year, keep it nice and simple. You have no marketing plan this year. That's totally fine. January, what's your marketing plan? Write it down. February, write it down. March, write it down. Because next year, or 2026, you've now got your January marketing plan, your February marketing plan, your March marketing plan. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to rewrite emails. You don't need to write scripts. You've got it all there. So if you're coming up with your 1st January, or this is your 5th January or 10th January, think back to what you've done previously, what worked well, work off those, document it, put it in your SOPs. It's stage 6 of the incubator, what we talk about. Get that all ready, so then it's just rinse and repeat every year, and it gets better and better and better and better.
I think this idea of recording stuff as you go, it's such an important thing for any business owner. One thing it took me for a few years of doing this before I actually realized, is one of the hardest things to do as a business owner is to control how many decisions you make in a day. And the more decisions you tend to make, the more things you have to think about, the harder it is to make more decisions later on in the day. You get a kind of decision fatigue. So every time you're getting to like a certain part of the year, we have to rethink of something to do for January, rethink of this, rebuild this out, and do lots of heavy lifting all the time. It's like you're effectively rebuilding a house every single year because you've just decided not to remember what you did last time or not stay in it. And I think by having these things written down, by creating those SOPs like you're talking about there, Dave, like that helps reduce that thinking time, and it free up so much more time for you, so much more capacity for you to do more with your business, or just to have some time for yourself to do the things that you want to do, like do the things that you actually started your business for in the first place. Like, and that's only going to happen if you start documenting things, if you start recording the outcomes of those things. And then life just becomes, I won't say it's going to become easier, like business is never easy, there's always ups and downs with it, definitely, but it does become a simpler process for you, and you don't have to make as many decisions.
Well, we all know when we onboard a new staff member or even a new client, this is where you go and do your deadlifts. You need to keep all your weight at the end of the sessions. This is where you put your coats so you don't trip anybody up. This is where you keep your workbooks. If you're getting pens out, put them back. Like, you're telling all this stuff to your clients, and you're probably repeating it over and over again. So it's just ingrained in your head. But these things that we do once a year, twice a year, that are not ingrained in your head. I don't know what's going on here. what the
That's
balloons
funny.
for. These things that you're just not doing all the time, these are the things that need to be documented. And something we really bang on about in the incubator is the getting run over by a bus situation. If you get run over by a bus and it's going to take you 6 months to recover, do you come back with a business that's still operating, or do you come back with a business that's burned to the ground because it just can't work without you?
Yeah.
To really start working these things out. And one of the things, like we talk about shit clients in January, the more clients you start taking on which are shit clients, you will then start to see a pattern. Let's just go very, very simple as all shit clients that come in usually wear a red jumper. Like, obviously it's not true, but it's the real simple way.
Yeah.
So next time you see someone turn up with a red jumper, you know this consultation is going to last 5 minutes. Question one, question two, we don't have space, goodbye. And it's over and done with because you know it. And then when you bring a salesperson on, you can tell them anybody with a red jumper, ask the 2 questions and get rid because they're not going to sign up. So start noticing these things, start documenting these things down, start making sure the business can potentially work without you. So then either you can get someone to run it for you or you can sell it with the whole manual in place and you're going to make your life easier. But yeah, we're kind of going off on tangent about shit January clients. But
Yeah, it's amazing where you get led to, isn't it? But
yeah.
I think you're spot on with that exactly. I mean, even if you're, and I hear this all the time. Well, you think, oh, Dave, well, I'm just a one-person band. It's just me. So why do I need to record all this stuff? Why do I need to write all this down? Why do I need SOPs? Well, in my mind, I think it's even more important to have it if you're on your own because why waste your time trying to figure things out when the answers are there in front of you? And the really important thing you mentioned there is you can sell your business. And without procedures, without processes, unless your business has lots of assets in it, which in reality, if you're selling gyms and stuff, there's some assets in there, but it depends on the size of the gym. And if you're online, you don't really have a lot of tangible assets other than probably cash in the bank and maybe your order book. But that's not really that massively tangible. So the thing that you sell is the brand and the procedures and processes that got you into that position in the first place and how everything works. So unless you have those things in place, it's going to make it very difficult for you to really kind of go anywhere. It makes it more difficult for exit strategies and all sorts of different things. But yeah, we're going on a right tangent here, aren't we?
Yeah, these things is literally onto a completely different. I think we've talked about this topic before, haven't we? Like, what is the purpose of your business? If you don't have a purpose to the business, it's hard to plan, it's hard to prepare, it's hard to have a marketing plan or a structured plan of where you want to get to. If you want to get to 15K a month, once you know I need to get to 15K a month, my life will completely change at 15K a month. You can then work backwards. How many clients do I need? How much do I need to sell at? What the capacity of sessions? What's the onboarding process to retain clients? What's my sales process? But one thing we never think about is what is the long-term plan for the business. Now, until I actually sold my studio, like it was a real good studio and it was really profitable and we sold it and we got really good money for it. I had no physical thoughts. I'd never thought about selling my studio. I just thought, this is a studio. I will work every other month. I'll do a couple of covering shifts, but it will work without me because I've got FitPro. I'd never thought of selling it until someone came to me and said, can I buy it off you? So I think the more you can really think about what you want to do with your fitness business and what you want to do with your own life, the easier it's going to be to plan your marketing campaigns, decide if you're going to have shit January clients or you need to change the type of clients you get in January, decide how the structure and your setup is going to be, build your asset base so your business is worth a lot more on those type of things as well. So yeah, we've gone on really weird tangents on this episode alone, but it's about thinking ahead. You can't run your business in the moment. You have to be always 2 or 3 months ahead, 6 months ahead, a year ahead, 2 or 3 years ahead. So you can make better decisions about everything that goes on.
Yeah, I think anything that's in the moment of your business needs to be kind of systemized, really. The day to day should be something that just happens. The bigger strategy needs to be, that's your job. I think in the UK, when you obviously register a limited company, you're called a director. And I know, like in the States and places like that, you have CEOs and all that kind of stuff. But to me, a director, I think's a really good description of what you actually are when you run a business. Your job is to direct the business in the direction you want it to go. And I think if you can always think about that, in order to do that, you have to understand what the end goal is. If you think about a director for a film, they have a screenplay, they know roughly what they're going to go and do. They have processes and teams and things in place to make sure the filming and stuff happens at the time. They plan ahead, but they also know what the overall picture is, the overall goal is at the end of that film. And I think that's the same thing you kind of have to do as a business owner. You have to be thinking ahead, because the day-to-day that you're doing, that should have been planned a long time ago. And yes, things happen, things come up, shit happens literally. But if you have the systems and process in place, you can deal with them. Again, like we talked about last week, shit literally can happen at the last minute that you don't know about, and you have to go and deal with those situations. But the majority of the time, it's about planning ahead, thinking ahead, and exactly as you said there, Dave, thinking backwards, just like we do with our clients. We speak to our clients, we understand what their deep-rooted goals are. Once we understand what their long-term deep-rooted goals are, we break them down to smaller stages. Once we understand those smaller stages, we then set targets for them to hit so they can achieve those goals. Once we've got those targets, we can then build systems for them to achieve those goals. So systems for our business would be systems, or for clients, it might be a nutrition plan, it might be a workout plan, or whatever it is. Then once we've got the systems in place, we then build habits to help those systems become successful. Exactly the same in our business. We have our systems, and then we have our daily habits that help support our systems. Literally no different. We do it every day. We just apply it to our own businesses.
Okay, so we've talked about changing the programs up for to get slightly better leads, or to deal with the quality of the leads coming in. Now, we've brought a couple of people in and they've jumped on the bandwagon, they've paid the money, but they're instantly not a good client. And these bad clients are not going to leave either.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a shit January sign.
Yeah, got to try and remove your clients.
How do we get rid of them?
So there's two ways to go about this. The first thing we should talk about is planning ahead. Exactly this conversation with one of my clients yesterday was talking about what to do in January, and we decided we're going to put a January offer on, which is going to go into like a membership subscription, which is just a 1 month one, month on month. They can do it, no commitment, and it allows them to go and try it out. And basically what that means is no matter what happens, they're either committing for that month and you can get rid of them. So if they don't want to be there, and you can choose at the end of it. And we framed it as a way that over that month, you can try it out. It's going to help you get X, Y, and Z results still over that first month. And at the end of it, we'll assess to see where you're at. We can put like a bit of a plan together, and then we can decide together whether we want to continue down this path or not. And then that gives you an easier out. It gives you an option to say, actually, well, you might have done really well on this so far, or maybe you didn't do so well on this. Either way, you have an option to go somewhere. So the best thing really is to try and think ahead and plan ahead, kind of like we talked about already. If you're in a situation where you haven't planned ahead, and maybe they've paid for like a 12-week program or something, and they won't leave, but you've got to deal with them all the time and things like that. You have a couple of options there, I suppose, as well. One is, if they are just going to stick to the program, they're not going to be arsy about it, and they're not going to start giving you bad reviews, and they're not going to start asking for refunds or do chargebacks and things. You can do your best to try and support them. As long as you tick off all the boxes that you say you're going to do, then you can do that. But it can be a bit of a pain. The other thing is, it's your business. You can do whatever the hell you want in your business. You're not bound by anybody else. So if you don't want to work with somebody, you don't have to work with somebody. And you can tell them that. What you do in that situation is you have an open, frank, and honest conversation with them that it's not working out. You don't think you can help them here. Theoretically, if they paid you some money, if you want to cancel it, you should give them the money back, really, I think, or at least pro-rata it, I think is only a fair way. It'd be a bit of a shitty thing to do if they're only like 4 weeks into a 12-week program and they paid like for a 12-week program and you just don't give them anything back on there. The other thing I like to do from ever in those situations is try and give them an option to go somewhere else. So I would never go in there saying like, I don't want to go and work with you. I would try and redirect them and put them on somebody else.
So like, competition.
Go work with them. Yeah, it's like when I don't like clients to come to me, I just send to Dave. But yeah, because sometimes it's referring out. It might not be that you just don't click with that client. It might be that maybe it wasn't the right move for them to go and make. So you can refer them down something different. You don't have to be a particular company. It could be like an app or a service or anything else. But that way it helps close things off. Like we've literally had really positive reviews. And I can remember there was a few years back, she signed up for it was kind of like a done for you coaching type thing at once. And we got 3 days into it. And there's three of us looking after her, and was like, okay, this is a bit much. Like she's more than what we're able to offer, at least for the price point anyway. And I was like, so what do we do about it? I was like, well, we can't deal with this. We're going to struggle to work. She's a lovely, lovely person, but we're going to struggle to work with her at the capacity that she needs help with. So I rang her. I said, look, we'll just have a conversation. We had the conversation. I said, I'm going to give you the money back. And I actually did it there and then. I didn't even wait. I didn't ask her. I did it. So I'm going to give you the money back. That's going to be done now. So it's back in their accounts. It takes some of that pressure off straight away. And then I said, look, this is where I'd recommend to go to. This is what I recommend you go and do next. And she actually gave us a review. She gave us a really positive review about it, about how good, even though she didn't work with us for 3 days, about how we approach that situation. So just because they're a shit client, just because you want to get rid of them, doesn't mean you have to burn your bridges. You can still use that to your advantage just by approaching it in the right way.
We should do an episode on this maybe next week, because there's a few clients coming to mind straight away. There was this one lady that smelt extremely bad. I think we should definitely do an episode on awkward clients or difficult clients, or just clients that you want to get rid of, or the clients you have to have awkward conversations with. I think we'll do that next week maybe, because that maybe is a different topic to dive into.
Yeah, and that would be a big tangent. I mean, we're kind of half keeping it on topic here, but it would be a big tangent to go on for that. But
so kind of like an overview. All we're basically saying in this week's episode is January clients are often people that are not fully committed. They're not all ready to make a change. We're not saying every client that joins you is going to be a loss leader, basically, where they're going to sign up and then they had no plans to stay on anyway. But we just need to be cautious and not getting upset that if we do sign up 20 clients and only 3 of them stay on at the end of your offer, it isn't your fault. Yes, there could be areas that we've talked about already, changing the program style, offering a little bit more in the program, changing it up a little bit to meet those needs. But often people that join in January are not the greatest because they were never really mentally ready to make that change. They've just jumped on the bandwagon. Would you agree with a summary of closing this?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. They're literally people that are driven by societal motivation, as in they feel like they have to do something, jumped on the bandwagon because they're there, but they're not yet gone far enough through that cycle, if you like, the sales cycle, to get to the point where they're ready to go and buy. And that's what makes them not the best clients. But like Dave said, there's plenty of things you can do to try and mitigate that as well. I think that's a perfect summary of it all.
Nice. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about launching an online fitness business, or you've already got an online fitness business, then me and Ash are thinking of doing a mini retreat where we help you really get this fitness business or this online fitness business off the ground, operational and making money in just a matter of days. This is going to be a retreat. We're trying to figure out logistics and costings and everything. But if you're watching this and you are thinking about launching a fitness business, or you've already got a fitness business, an online fitness business, and it just isn't going the way you want it to go, and you want it to like accelerate to that point, then do reach out, as we are putting some plans in place for a retreat coming up in 2025. But Ash, anything else for you to finish, or are we all good from there?
I think we're all good.
Nice. Appreciate everybody, and we'll see you all next week.
See you. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the FitPro Social. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.